In example 1 for 1.2 here, it asks us to actually do something with our sum formulas. So it's talking about how a firefly is flashing in patterns, and I'll skip to the important stuff. Under some circumstances, a firefly flashes twice in the first minute, 4 times in the second minute, 6 times in the third minute, and then it just kind of says so on. And I want to write that out, that if we look at the first minute, the firefly flashes twice. The second minute, the firefly flashes 4 times. The third minute, it's 6 times. And then what's going to happen? I'm going to distinguish these terms with a comma. That's going to continue until the 30th minute that firefly is flashing some amount. And that's A. It says, if this pattern continues, what is the number of flashes in the 30th minute? And I'd like to identify that what that is, because we're counting minute by minute, is effectively A wants us to determine what's term 30. Now, please do not add 2 30 times and just kind of figure it out by brute force. You can do that. I understand that's not even that ridiculous in this question, but it is ridiculous to do that if there's 300 minutes or 3,000 minutes or a full year, which I don't know how many minutes is a full year, but it's a lot. So when we talk about using these formulas, some questions are doable via that brute force and just actually adding them, but we want to get used to how to do this with the equations so that we can use the equations in the complex situations that maybe can't be brute forced or would just use the rest of your life to do so. All right, now in order to find term 30, it is going to be very useful for us to find the general term. And the general term, Tn, is term 1 plus n minus 1 times the common difference. The common difference can be identified as, and I'll write both that are usable in this question, term 3 minus term 2, or term 2 minus term 1. I could use, term 4 minus term 3. That would work as well. I just have term 1, term 2, and term 3. So the common difference for this question, I'm going to say, well, I could use 6 minus 4. I get 2. I could also use 4 minus 2, and I get 2 as well. So what we now know then is I know that term 1 is 2, and the common difference is 2, just a coincidence that they're the same thing. So I'm going to write the general term down. That means that Tn is 2 plus whatever n is minus 1 times the common difference of 2. I like to manipulate that a little bit. So I'm going to say that Tn is 2 plus 2n minus 2, just distributing that into the bracket, which means that Tn, those 2's are going to cancel. So Tn is 2 times n. Now, you can quickly double check that. Term 3 is 2 times 3, which is 6. Term 2 is 2 times 2, which is 4. Term 1 is 2 times 1, which is 2. So what I'm looking for then is term 30. Well, term 30 is going to be 2 times 30 because we've identified that n is 30. So the number of flashes in the 30th minute is 60. And I'm just going to put 60 flashes there, if I can spell it right. All right, now B is a little bit different. B is saying, okay, what's the total number? As soon as you see total, you have to think, okay, the firefly flashed twice in the first minute, 4 times in the second minute, 6 times in the third minute, until eventually it flashed 60 times in the 30th minute. And I'm just going to put on the bottom here that this is term 30. As soon as it talks about total or the sum of, you need to make sure you kind of switch gears a little bit and you think about those SN formulas. And I'm going to write both down here. We'll see if I can remember the other one. I don't have a formula sheet in front of me, but Sn could also be written as n over 2 times 2 term 1s plus n minus 1 times d. Now, for this particular question, there's no real reason to choose one equation over the other, right? I have the common difference, I have the first term, but I also have the last term. And I would like to show you that you get the exact same answer either way. So I'm going to say that the sum of these 30 terms, because there's 30 minutes, so 30 terms, is going to be equal to 30 over 2 times the first term, which is 2, plus the last term, which is 60. This is going to be 15 times 62. I'm just going to grab my calculator in a second here. I'll do the other formula as well. We would have the sum of, again, 30 terms is 30 over 2 times 2 times 2, which is the first term, plus 30 minus 1 times the common difference of 2. This means that the sum of these 30 terms is 15 times 4 plus 29 times 2, which means that this is equal to 15 times 4 plus, that's 40, 58, and I get 15 times 62, which pretty importantly is the same, right? Really, really important in math that if I'm going to talk about how there's 2 different techniques for doing this, they have to give me the same answer. And for both of these techniques, I get that in 30 minutes, that firefly flashes 930 times in total. which is a lot. I'm not a biologist. I don't know if that is, ridiculous or reasonable, but based on the information they've given us, that's the sum of those 30 terms. Now, if you, I guess, have some time to kill, you could go 2 plus 4 plus 6 plus 8 plus 10 plus 12 all the way until you're adding 60, and then you could double check that. That's certainly not the intent of this. Right? Try to imagine how long that would take. I mean, 30 terms is long enough, quite frankly. What if there's 300 terms or 3,000 terms? You want to make sure you're comfortable enough with the equations that you don't have to spend 30 minutes adding numbers together. Right? We're going to exploit technology and basically make machines do this for us.